Bullying is bad, right? But did you know that in an episode of Bluey they paid tribute to bullying? No man, get out of here, right? And not only that, but they were also being sneaky, giving rude nicknames. Bullying?
Does it taste soft? That's insulting to me.
That's right, friends. The lesson of this episode was that bullying is okay. Or well, at least that's how many parents interpreted it and got angry. Not good. And thanks to this message that could get you cancelled, it was banned for more than 3 years in a row. So let's see why this episode, called Prank, was one of the most controversial in the Bluey series. Because, between every joke, the truth comes out. Just a little joke. In case you hadn't heard the gossip, it was known that the episode Broma had been wiped off the map because it contained a certain racist scene. And it was right in the scene where Bandit is giving nicknames to Blue and Bingo, Bingo. He had said a word that sounded pretty mocking to a lot of people, since it seemed like he was making fun of some African tribes because the word was Ooga Be Ooga. Everyone was really outraged by this misunderstanding, to the point that Ludo Studios and the American Broadcasting Company network had to apologize and decided to remove the episode. But that wasn't all this episode was hiding from us. Later, many parents came forward complaining that their children started bothering their younger siblings after watching this episode. But why? Let's analyze little by little how the message gets so twisted that not even at the end of the episode will it give us a good lesson. Or the answer to how this is solved. This episode starts with a scene where Bluey is bothering Bingo. Well, she takes advantage of the fact that she can't reach her toothbrush. So Bandit scolds them so that Bluey stops messing around with Bingo Bluey. Stop bothering your sister! From this scene, it seems like they're trying to give us a lesson about why we shouldn't bother or take advantage of those who are younger. But Dad's always bothering us. What about me? And there have been many times when he has made fun of and taken advantage of his little daughter's innocence. The chubby guy turns into the prankster and starts making up passwords for the girls so they can enter the bathroom. Just imagine if Bluey is already pulling her pants down from behind. Then he changes their names, which could be interpreted as giving them nicknames, only disguised as nonsense words. Like when there was that kid at school they called Elvis because he was cross-eyed. And a bunch of really funny things that Bandit used to say. So a lot of parents started complaining because their kids were bothering their younger siblings, giving them nicknames or taking away their favorite toy. And all of this happened because the kids weren't able to understand the message that was being given. So far in the episode, there's no logical explanation provided for why Bandit is mocking his daughters. Panza justifies himself by just saying, "Just a joke," as if expecting his daughters to just laugh, even though they're not enjoying the joke. And let me tell you, this is exactly what abusive kids do, who start by making mean jokes and just say, "Relax, man, it's just a joke." This is what worried the parents the most. That healthy play would actually turn into abuse where the other person is being hurt. Well, there are certain kids who take some jokes very seriously and end up carrying that trauma for their whole lives. But after learning everything Bandit did, things get even worse. Because all of this is justified by even harsher pranks that Bluey and Bingo play on their dad. Like, for example, the scene where Bandit tells them he's going to sell them at the monkey house. After this, Bluey and Bingo start behaving like spoiled kids. The kind of kids that make you want to give them a smack, so they'll be quiet. And this is what Bandit caused by trying to be funny. Just tell me, was there really any need to provoke his daughters like that? And then even Chili ends up completely fed up with his monkey screams. It's like these behaviors from Bandit were just encouraging Bluey and Bingo to misbehave. And instead of reaching a solution or a message about being good daughters, they actually just became daughters. But daughters from hell! What kind of lesson are they teaching us here? Just that the little ones misbehave whenever their parents or someone else plays a prank on them. Because there's a pretty small difference between just joking around and that little joke turns into a more extreme misunderstanding. And I have quite a few examples that always end in disaster, since the more sensitive person always ends up getting really angry. And they even get really aggressive. It's like when someone jokingly tells you that with those sandals your feet look like tamales, and then you respond with something else. Until one of you doesn't agree with these jokes anymore and they jump on you. So this message is pretty powerful and bad for kids to see if they don't understand it and never find out. What was the real purpose of this episode? And up to this point, we agree that everything is going wrong with this episode. But were they really so blind that no one realized it actually gave a positive message? What? And the thing is, despite all these jokes and the fact that this episode should have been called bullying, it's hard to believe there was actually something good. Well, even at the end of the episode, it seems like Bandits is going to give the answer to what's the difference between joking and actually bothering someone. But just when they're about to reveal this secret to us, Bingo starts turning down the volume and you can barely hear anything. And they leave us hanging like fools waiting for the answer. I'm waiting, old man. The truth is that we were all too naive to just write down this message and nothing else. We were getting all edgy, saying it was a terrible episode. But, as Bandit said, let's not just look at stories from one side, because after Bandit tells us the whole story, we see that he wasn't the only one making fun in this situation. But still, what's so good about this if Bluey and Bingo reacted even worse? In the end, everyone ended up understanding that it was just a simple game. Just like when Bandit is teasing the girls by changing their names, then they end up changing Bandit's name. And everyone ends up laughing and making this moment fun. Just like when he asks them for the password, Bluey finds the fun side of this moment. And in the end, it's a pleasant time, with no arguments or anger. And if we compare it to the scene at the beginning of the episode, where Bluey is simply taking advantage of Bingo, the thing is, Bingo isn't enjoying the situation at any point.
Stop it already! Stop it already! Please, idiot!
Is he seriously asking him to please give back his toothbrush? This is the most crucial aspect of the situation. Here, the only one who's having fun is Bluey. Now, have you figured out the answer? Well, I don't think so. Basically, the difference between joking and bothering is that everyone is involved in the joke and everyone ends up laughing. On the contrary, when you actually made someone angry with your little jokes, the person's reaction will just be different. And instead of laughing, they're going to get all serious or might even start crying because you really made them feel bad. But even knowing all this, jokes in games always have to be measured so they don't turn into fights. As long as someone lets you know that they're feeling uncomfortable or that it doesn't seem like a joke to them anymore. Here you need to learn to respect and listen instead of just saying relax, that's all. It was a joke, but before you speak, consider the kind of joke you're making. So, in the end, we did have a good message, it's just that not everyone was able to understand it. So tell me in the comments, what do you think about this episode? And has anyone ever made you cry with a joke?